All right, welcome back everybody to Cool Sports Chat, episode 8, and it's a fun one, pretty historic here. You can already see Matt in the upper right-hand corner saying 70 NBA or NFL because that's right. The Miami Heat scored less than the Miami Dolphins against a Denver team. That's right, you heard that right. A Denver football team gave up more points than a Denver basketball team. And I know you guys probably don't want us to talk about it, but come on, the last time this happened, we had not walked on the moon. I even had to take a picture and post it on Facebook because it is something we probably will never see again. And at this point, can you fix the Denver Broncos? My answer is no. And we'll go through, I've written down some numbers because at this point, everyone I know wants to fire Vance Joseph. His team gave up 70 points in a game. His teams were also the highest scoring Bronco teams through 3 games. So, I mean, you have some stuff there. There's been pictures circulating of just Bronco players on the ground. On top of it, Sean Payton's smack talking everybody, including Nathaniel Hackett. And so I think it's a cultural thing. I think this is something that's been building since Super Bowl 50, and I think they kind of just got to let it run its course. Matt, we're going to start with you. How do you feel about the Denver Nuggets? I mean, the Denver Broncos.
There's not much to say, man. Yeah, I would have expected that maybe of the early Cleveland Browns or something like that a few years back when they were this bad. But the Broncos are now to a whole new level of bad. 70 points, man, against the Dolphins. Not taking anything away from them. They do have Tyreek Hill, who, as of right now, is one of the best wide receivers in the game. But, you look at Tua, who I think Sean Payton said it himself, was going to be a backup quarterback out of this league by now. So um, it says a lot. Denver just needs to shut their mouths, do their job, and score. Don't worry about, the Jets. Don't worry about Daniel Hackett. Do your job, coach the team, win a game.
Right. And no one can say they were running up the score. I know we've heard it from some Denver fans, but the Dolphins put in their backups. Their backups were balling, getting touchdown after touchdown. The Dolphins were trying to just run out the clock, and the Broncos could not stop them. The Dolphins
It was
even
even,
chose not to get more points.
I think it was the last touchdown of the game, maybe the one that made it 63 at the time. But even the running back was like running a zigzag, trying to like just take the time off. It wasn't a
Mhm.
direct shot to the end zone where if a team running up the score were doing that, they would have just ran it right in, scored the touchdown, and got the time back. But you could tell that they were definitely trying to eat away at the clock. But when the Broncos can't make the tackles and you leave a guy able to run a 50-yard touchdown, you can't fault him for that.
Yeah, and people want to say it wasn't Russ, it was the whole team. The whole team, from top to bottom. Dolphins wouldn't have 70 points if the Broncos offense was out there more. The Dolphins offense wouldn't have 70 points if the defense could tackle, you know. I don't think it's just one thing, and that's why I think no one was fired because it was everybody. And I think Sean Payton, who's been pointing the finger, can't just fire someone because then he's still pointing the finger. I think this was a game, and I think he's doing what he should. He said, "Hey, I'm the coach. I coach everyone." That's what happened. Brendan, were you able to watch this historic event this weekend?
Yeah, well, kind of. I watched Red Zone, so I was kind of watching all the games as they were flipping through, and they like let the score rack up a little bit, and they're like, "Here, now have like 4 touchdowns." The Dolphins did with this, maybe one Bronco one in there somewhere.
Right? Yeah, no, it was funny because everyone's like, the Broncos, blah blah. I was like, that was Patrick Surtain getting burned by a backup quarterback and a guy the Dolphins just brought out of the practice squad, Mr. Robbie Chosen, formerly Robbie Anderson. So I mean, I don't know where the Broncos go. This was a game. I mean, we see it in college. You kind of expect it because you get really high-powered colleges that get recruits versus colleges that don't get recruits. But man, this is the NFL. And like Matt said, the winless Lions, the winless Browns never looked this bad. Bobby, how'd you feel this?
I didn't know what to say. When I heard what Shannon Sharp had to say, I agreed with him. It's unacceptable. This team has never done this, never laid down like this. Laid down.
Well, and I think it kind of goes back to stability. The
Yep.
Broncos used to have that. They had Mike Shanahan for
Yeah.
13
Oh, yeah.
years. Maybe they weren't all good years. There was definitely some down years.
Yeah, but not
But the
this.
fans were a lot more patient. And I think
Yep.
that's kind of gotten into the Broncos higher ups mindset
Yep.
is we gotta win, we gotta win, we gotta win. Because you
Yep.
see reactionary movements,
Yep.
especially with quarterback, especially paying defenses. They're switching coaches, which is something I always tell teams don't do. Don't just go through coaches to go through coaches. Matt, you look like you want to say something.
I was just going to say, everyone's making fun of the meme going around right now is what the Broncos thought they were going to get Sean Payton. What they got in reality, a picture of Kevin James when he would play the
Played,
role
yeah,
of Sean
played him.
Payton. I honestly think that Kevin James, that role, would have coached better than Sean Payton. So it's not really a joke. I would rather have Kevin James in there coaching the Denver Broncos right now. Put him in,
Right. I know a lot of talk too is Sean Payton regretting leaving the TV booth because this is going to hurt his legacy. I mean,
Yep.
everyone's been talking about Russ's legacy. This is also now in Sean's.
Yep.
I mean, this is not going away ever.
No.
When there's people out there still defending Russell Wilson, how can you defend that complete garbage that we see week after week? Oh, he puts up numbers. He puts up numbers.
Oh,
How about putting up those letters? How about the letter W? Where are they at? Where has he gotten the Denver Broncos a year and 3 weeks in?
yep. No.
Well, even going back to Seattle, what happened when they didn't have the Legion of Boom? What happened when they didn't have Marshawn Lynch to carry him? I'm not saying he was always a bad quarterback. He was good, but he wasn't elite.
No.
He definitely wasn't teaming up with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and all that.
Here, just put it this way right now. If he were to retire today, would Russell Wilson be a Hall of Fame quarterback? Yes or no?
Yep.
Not
No.
first ballot.
No.
No.
Even with a Super Bowl win under his belt, I don't think he'll get there,
Well, look at, some of the other quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls. Brad Johnson, for one, comes to mind with Tampa Bay. Obviously, that defense was killer. But no one goes around saying he won a Super Bowl. He deserves to be recognized. Sometimes Hall of Fame, I think, too many people get in. It's not as bad. I mean, some sports, everybody gets in. The NFL hasn't quite gotten there yet. Brendan, do you feel embarrassed being close to a state that gave up 70 points?
Do you feel embarrassed living in a state that gave up
Oh, no, I
Brendan,
enjoyed it.
13 points in
122
2 days?
122. Well, they gave up 122 in 3 weeks, the Broncos.
Well, I was more talking about the Colorado Buffalo getting blown out Saturday and then turn around and get the Broncos get blown out Sunday.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people expected Oregon to win
Yep.
and kind of win big. I believe in Deion. I think Deion's going to win here. I do.
Yeah.
I love Deion as a coach. But even early on, he said he was a few players away from getting there. And a lot of it's in the trenches. That's where Oregon does really good is the trenches, offensive line.
Well, and then you lose your star and Hunter, and
Yeah.
that hurts, too. So
I mean, did you expect Colorado to go to the national championship this year? I didn't have them going. So, I mean, I'm not surprised they lost, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lose again. USC is a tremendous team.
Oh,
They've got the current Heisman Trophy favorite playing for them, and probably the favorite first overall pick, too.
that's what I hear.
Nope.
I am surprised they fell completely out of the top 25 in the poll. I will say that. Like Matt said, I didn't expect for them to go win the national championship this year. But you got to say, going from 1-11 to 3-1,
Yep.
phenomenal. A lot of people said they might win 5 games. So, I mean, they're going to surpass that by a lot. I mean, Dion has completely changed CU.
Yep.
I know Matt and I will go up there at some point, crash some viewing parties, but we're still excited, you know. I know it's not my college. My college is steamrolling teams. It might have just been Boston College, but I smoked them. Louisville, 4-0. Ooh. I did see Kentucky jumped Colorado in the voting, though, for the top 25. And now Louisville and Colorado are tied.
It's okay. My team's number 3.
Yeah, you and David's team, I know. Hey, David said we can come down and watch a game with him next year.
Is David a Longhorn?
Yeah.
I knew he was doing stuff down there. I didn't know he was a Longhorn though, or a Longhorn fan.
Yeah, he was just at one of the games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and me and Matt, forget, it might have been at the DC game. We were talking, we should try to go to as many different college games or high school games as possible because it's a fun environment. You know,
Mhm.
it's better this year. The fans aren't chanting to fire Hackett at the DC
Yeah.
game, which made no sense that one year we went.
And I think Penn State, Virginia Tech, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa, obviously with the wave to the Children's Hospital. A lot of that would be like some incredible events to witness. You know, I mean, the whiteout at Penn State just looks like the Sea of Madness. How awesome
Yeah.
that would be! And Virginia Tech with the Inner Sandman, Wisconsin with Jump. You know, there's some fun stuff out there, man. I think we got to live a little and experience something new.
Yeah, no, I've been to a few colleges. Louisville, obviously, been to CU before. They're good. Me and Matt go to Wyoming quite often. IU, UK. So I've seen some of these colleges. But yeah, college games. That's when we should go to a Louisville, UK game because they are rowdy, very rowdy. Well, Brendan, you did it. You pulled off a victory. How do you feel?
Pretty good.
Wasn't even close.
Thank you,
At the
Devontae
end.
Adams.
Oh man, Devontae Adams did just stellar. I thought he was going to get some more. I really thought the Raiders were going to pull that one through.
It was good though. He did have me worried. But you know, I could have been destroyed, honestly.
If he played his running back.
Yeah. He had a Dolphins running back who got 4 total touchdowns, and 200 something total yards, and 60 points sitting on his bench.
Yeah, he probably the best 0-3 team we've seen has to be the Blueberry Bulldogs with Grayson. They're always putting up points because I know the week before he got 157. He was like third highest scorer, I think, that week.
I don't know. No, I thought you got a little less because I thought your mom had 150 something, and she won.
I know it was close. I'll have to see if I can. Hang on.
Well, then he's going to get a little bit more dangerous picking up Mike Evans in the waiver wire. So a huge pickup for the Blueberry Bulldogs, man. That's going to get him some wins right there.
I went all of his money though. He's out of.
He has no more money.
Yeah, that's that one player. You come across him, I think I would have done the same thing.
Yep.
And
that was my fault.
Brendan is not the only 3-0 team left. We do have a surprise one. Brendan, for a while, was texting he was going to be the only one. Because Brendan did not think he was going to pull off the win, but Shane and the South Park Cows, 3-0. You know, when we were doing our draft night, because I was rewatching it today, David did say the Cows are going to go far, and here they are, 3-0. I know they're trying to put out some flyers for some trades, so we'll see where they go. This week should be interesting. It's a rematch of all our week 1 matchups because the fantasy app was not very good at scheduling this year.
No.
Or last year.
It's worse than last year. David and cousin Brian play each other 4 times. 4 times in the year. There's 13 weeks. It's like every other week they play each other.
That's crazy.
Let's see. Oh, Montana Outlaws takes on Blazing Red. Are you worried at all?
Yes, because if you watch her weeks, it's every other week she does well. And that means this week she's going to do well. But I'm averaging over 160 points over the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, I think I'll be okay. But, I mean, I'm not going to counter out. Anything can happen on Sunday.
Right.
Or
Well,
Monday
speaking-
against the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah, that is a Monday. Hopefully we beat the Giants. Now, speaking of any given Sunday, or Monday, as Brendan put it, Ty ended up beating Dark Horse. And not even just like beating, like smoking him. Smoking him. And now Dark Horse goes into a matchup against the Sun Hitters, who just scored the second most points in our fantasy league history last week. Like, there's a very real chance he goes from 2-0 to 2-2, like that.
Right.
How do you guys feel about that matchup?
I hope that happens.
Whoa, Brandon is putting out some shade tonight. Matt, what do you have to say about both Brendan's matchup against Blazing Red as well as this matchup, Dark Horse versus the Sun Hitters?
Dude, I'm kind of excited. I think we're finally starting to see a little bit of a shift where some of the teams that were powerhouses, mine, yours, Brendan's, we're starting to get the challenges from the teams that were towards the bottom. I mean, we're seeing that rebuild happen, and it's a good thing for our fantasy league. I mean, we're getting some enjoyable matchups. But no, I very much look forward to seeing Brendan's team take on the Sun Hitters. It'll be interesting to see what goes on down there.
Yeah, we're always open to more competition. That's why we always are trying to help each other because we want everyone to do good because it just makes it a better year. We don't want to know what's going to happen. We want to be like, whoa, that happened. Let's see. What is our next
Matt was in a
matchup?
dogfight for a while.
What?
Matt was in a dogfight.
Whew, that was a close one down to the wire.
No
Yeah,
pun intended, considering he was against Desert Dogs.
Yeah, well, we each had a third string receiver playing on each side of the ball, and it was like a 1-2 point game at certain points where, his guy would make a catch, he'd jump up one, my guy ended up making a catch, and it was just like back and forth. But thank goodness Bengals prevailed, and Boyd got the victory. He sealed the deal at the end of the game.
Yeah, my faith in Joe Mixon was proven right. Like, I knew it was just a matter of time. Same with Jamar Chase. Like, I've seen so many shows where they're like, trade him off. I'm like, no, that's stupid. There's some players, yeah, I'm actively thinking about trading. One, because I have so many running backs, I have some other weaknesses. I think I can spare Cam Akers, and he's going to be the number one in Minnesota, so I might be able to get some help on wide receiver or tight end.
Well, that's unfortunate because Matt just can't hold on to the ball. I mean, the Vikings continue to shoot themselves in the foot by fumbling the ball. Hold on to the ball. Oh, my goodness. Do we need to go back to, like, the basic fundamentals of football?
Yeah, Pee-wee football.
I'm so lost with words right now. I mean, I got excited thinking, here we go. The Vikings are going to win this one in a squeaker, and again, poor time management. Kirk Cousins forces a throw that he had to force, and it ended up in a pick to end the game. I mean, I just don't know what the Vikings right now, man. I think they're going down that dark road that they probably aren't making the playoffs this year. Right now, with an 0-3 record, you just don't make the playoffs when you start like that. It's historically a bad start to have.
Well,
So-
but Brendan said he sent a message in the chat showcasing how an 0-17 Kirk Cousins could look. Isn't that right, Brendan?
They also had one for Justin Jefferson. He's on pace for like 2,400 yards, which would be an NFL record. And they're 0-17 at the end of the season. And Kirk Cousins has 6,000 yards. And I was just like, that would be ridiculous if that happened. They are definitely the best 0-3 team, I think. They're in those one possession games where last year they got lucky and won, and this year they're not getting lucky.
I mean, Matt, if you want to take any solace, you're not the Denver Broncos. So
I'm a little worried, though. I got tickets coming up, in November to see the Vikings and Broncos. And what are the chances both teams are 7 and 8 at that point? It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so it's still pretty far out there. It might even be like 0-10 at that point. But hopefully one of the teams have a win. If not, we're going to be watching some pretty boring Sunday night football if the game's kept there.
Yep.
I don't know. When start flexing games. I know it's at a certain point they can boot any game they want.
yeah, I was hoping they would start flexing games a lot earlier because, man, this week's schedule was not very good. There was like a handful of good ones. Keep on the Broncos one because we wanted to see that history being made. We were enjoying that. But, man, Sunday night football, not very good. Monday night's games, unless you're an Eagle fan, not very good.
Well, isn't the Broncos and Jets game here in a couple weeks a Sunday night game?
Oh, I don't know.
Man, I hope the Jets score like a 95 on them.
That could be probably the lamest Sunday night game all year long.
So it's the last one with the Colts and the Broncos.
That's actually kind of interesting that you say that because the Jets just signed Trevor Siemian, who's the Broncos' old quarterback. They play in 2 weeks.
Right. Imagine that's Hackett's revenge is him and Simeon come in and torch the Broncos for 71 points.
Yeah, so I made a graphic. I shared it in the chat. I'll kind of showcase it here. I guess I can't. It just shows all the different coaches. I wanted to see what each coach's start since Shanahan, their first 3 games. Sean Payton is off to the worst one in Broncos history since Shanahan. He is 0-3. The Broncos scored 69 points and gave up 122 in those 3 weeks.
All right, I just fact checked myself. That game actually is a afternoon game, 2:00 game. Thank goodness for that. But the week prior, the Jets play at Kansas City. So
It's going to be a Taylor Swift show there.
right?
Oh, Jesus.
She'll be there. Hey, sorry, the Jets play at home with the Chiefs. But yeah, you'll see Taylor Swift in New York. She'll be there at MetLife.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to the coaches, Vance Joseph had the best points scored for the Broncos of any of the coaches post-Shanahan,
No.
82 points. Their defense only gave up 64 points. They were 2-1. Much, much better. Looking at Nathaniel Hackett, yeah, their offense only scored 43 points, but their defense only gave up 36 points. They were 2-1 as well. So there you go. Payton was bad mouth, and Hackett actually started a lot better. Kubiak also 2-1, scored 75 points, only gave up 67. So kind of close. Josh McDaniels, though, 3-0. The Broncos scored 62 points and only gave up 16 points. So Josh McDaniels, we all know how that ended, but it definitely started good. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think when you've had, 9 coaches, including the 2 interns, since Shanahan, that's a recipe for disaster there, especially when you got to pay him.
And you traded for him.
Yeah, traded picks. You mortgage your future for a quarterback and multiple first rounds for both.
I'm okay with the coach one. The Russell Wilson one I'm not okay with. they'll probably move off him this year so they don't get hit with those big penalties.
I don't think they can get rid of him till like 2025.
Oh, I thought they could get rid of him this year, and then I thought his contract started next year.
No.
Like big cap hits.
No,
I thought they could move off him this year.
No, they still have some time.
Oh,
The Broncos are in this one for the long run, and there's already talk Jerry Jeudy being actively shopped once again. Pat Surtain II, his dad, coming out not very happy. We've seen this before with OBJ where his dad wasn't happy what happened there. So I think Broncos keep losing. I think it's going to look a lot different come Matt's Vikings game. He might be seeing some wide receivers he's never heard of playing wide receivers and corners.
well, there's another star receiver that's a little being threatening.
Which one?
Devontae Adams has come out and told the Raiders that you either need to start winning or send me somewhere else because I can't wait.
Yeah.
Look at all the potential trades that could happen. I mean, you have Stephon Diggs, who's continuing to grow frustrated with, Buffalo, and like Brendan just pointed out, you got Adams there in Las Vegas. He wants out. I mean,
well, there you go. Swap them.
Yeah.
Send Diggs to Las Vegas. Send Adams to Buffalo.
Get him a fresh change of scenery. Sometimes
maybe you just send Adams. Maybe you just send Adams to Buffalo, and that becomes a way better offense because now you have 2-star receivers.
Plus, you got Gabe Davis. I mean, that would be. Whew.
He's a good number 3.
Right.
They just need a running back.
Not to pile on the Broncos, right? But they just gave up 30-some points to the Commanders, who got absolutely smacked in the face by the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Like, what's going to happen when the Buffalo Bills face off against the Broncos? Are they going to score 100 points? Like, I'm going for it. Go for the record. Like, I know they're trying to be nice. Go for it. It's the history books. Hit that field goal. Come on, we've talked
That's
about
another thing.
so
Daniel
much.
said
Give that kicker some love. Sanders kick us.
Daniel said if he wanted to run up the score, they would have gone for the field goal and gone for the record points.
I truly believe in the football karma though too, man. You do stuff like that, you're asking for it down the road. I think I've said it once before. I'll say it again. I think the Broncos sold their soul in order to win Super Bowl 50. That's one that they shouldn't have won when you look at just look at the papers. Carolina should have handed the Broncos that game, handily defeated them, and instead it was quite the opposite. Broncos destroyed Carolina. So I think John Elway did some selling of the soul there. So Denver may never win again. Who knows?
I mean, I've definitely seen it. They paid a lot of money for that team, and eventually you got to pay it. You can kick it down the road for a little bit, but especially when you're paying Russell an ungodly amount of money to kiss babies, not sign our petition to go to Canada. I mean, I just don't know what's going on there. So, Matt, this weekly tradition, we got to look at your quarterback rankings. 70 points, does this drop Russ even further down your rankings?
Yes, it does. It's another L on his resume that just pops him a few spots lower,
Well, and we've talked about some quarterback names.
That Dolphins backup quarterback looked better than Russ.
Mike White.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and I know we talked about Bobby Boucher. I want to hope that those Bobby Boucher jerseys we saw in Boulder were inspired by our talk. Bobby liked that one. But let's talk about an actual quarterback played by Adam Sandler. Paul Crewe. Would you take him over Russell Wilson at this point? I know he's probably in gel. I mean, he is in the movie. Would you still take him, though, over Russell Wilson?
Yeah, didn't you see his accuracy in that movie? I mean, he put the ball right on target. He needed to hit a ref in the nuts. He hit the ref in the nuts. He knew how to throw the ball. I mean, I think it was the movie. Oh God, it was a stupid movie. I saw it the other day. The quarterback looked even better. I'll have to look it up real quick. But I mean, it wasn't a football movie. They just had a scene of a football, and I'm like, yep, I'll take that quarterback too.
I have a high school quarterback you could take.
I mean, we've taken two. So, okay, look, there we go. We're going to take Philip Rivers' son. So we're adding. This is now 3 high school quarterbacks, right, Matt, over Russell Wilson? And you can't forget Arch Manning down Texas. You got to rank him, obviously. He's a Manning.
Oh, yeah. Any Manning with the last name, dude.
He might be the third string on Texas bench right now, but you know.
Yeah, but that just shows you how good he could be on the Denver Broncos. They'd be winning some games, not giving up 70 points.
Probably.
Who was the quarterback in Friday Night Lights? Would you take him, Matt? I know they didn't win in the end, but would you take him?
Dude, like I said, I'm at the point I'll take anybody right now.
Hey, he put his team in a position to win, which is more important than what Russ has been doing recently, minus the numbers, because, you know, the numbers are there.
Okay, I got one more for you. Victor Stone. I know he just became Cyborg, but he was a quarterback in Gotham Central in that movie. Would you take him over Russell Wilson?
No, because he's dead.
He's Cyborg. He ain't dead. Imagine he could like just fly over the defense. Matt, would you take a flyover defense player?
Yes. So yeah, the movie I was
take the running back from the Dark Knight's Gotham guy.
No, he's
survived it all.
I'll take the special teams guy. He ran that ball all the way back, like outrunning the collapsing field.
All right, so we're jumping another DC universe. We go from the Snyder universe to the Nolan universe, and he's taking Hines Ward from The Dark Knight Returns.
Well, this movie I was thinking about with the quarterback in it is the new guy. Not sure if you've seen it. It's got the actor who was in Road Trip, DJ Culz in it, where he kind of played like, you know, the tough guy at a new school, but he robbed that quarterback on to winning a game, and he's a good guy. Put him in. Let's give him a start. Denver, go out and get him.
All right, so you guys, you heard it here first. Our weekly quarterback rankings have been updated. Matt has dropped Russell even further. We've looked at some hot candidates, we'll say. Definitely rising up the mark. You know, we saw Arch Manning. We saw Victor Stone. We even saw a guy in prison. So, I mean, going all the way up over Russell Wilson. Next week, we should have some more intel because we'll see 2 college quarterbacks in person. So we'll definitely be able to rank them higher, I think, too. All right, let's I know we've just hounded the Broncos. I know their fans dislike us mightily. I've seen it in our shorts on Russell Wilson, so I know it's coming when I make 2 more shorts on Russell.
Well, dude, I think they're starting to see our way too, though. I mean, a week after like this last week, I know a lot of fans, at least it looked like on social media, were begging other bandwagons to allow them to jump aboard. You know, the Broncos are a sinking ship right now, and I get it. Like, living in this town, you don't want to see your hometown team do this bad. But, I mean, you also got to chalk it up to reality here. I mean, they're playing god-awful, and people are defending them. What are they doing that makes them so special right now? Why are people defending this Denver Bronco team? What have they done to prove anything?
Right. You know, and they just don't play with heart, I think, too. You see it with Arizona. No one gave Arizona a chance, and look what they did in Dallas. I know Brandon was mightily excited. Look at him. He's getting excited just thinking about that matchup. But just think, no one gave Arizona a chance to win a game this year, and they just went and beat what people thought was the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's playing
I mean,
with
they
heart.
did lose their number 1 cornerback. I mean,
But still, you're playing a team that everyone said will not win a single game. They're just, trying to get Williams from the USC Trojans.
How'd that feel?
No one gave Arizona a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
Brendan, the Eagles dominated Tampa Bay on Monday night. Was close for a while, and then Eagles just gave it to Swift, and he ran all over. Like, ever since he got to Philadelphia, he's been running nonstop. Like, it's crazy. No words. He has no words on that one.
I mean, he's a good running back. Yeah, I said it last week. I don't think he's a bad running back. It's the same thing as Rashad Penny. They're good running backs, but when are they going to get hurt? I mean, there's a ticking clock for both of them.
Brendan is not the optimist right now. He is definitely the fatalist.
Just trying to be a realist.
Oh, all right, let's go back. We'll look at our fantasy matchups this week, and then we'll get into picking the games. Let's see where we are. Bobby, you play Iowa Eagles off a big win, taking down the previously undefeated Dark Horse. You're on a 2-game slide, but it is looking like
players too, though.
Yeah, it is looking like you're projected to win by 3, so should be a close matchup there, you think?
Yeah, I just added some players too.
Okay.
I took over.
Ooh, Matt. Got a close one last week. This week you are playing the Cryptid Critters. Obviously off to a pretty good start, 2-1, had a number 1 overall draft pick this year, but they've built a good team year 1. How do you feel going into this matchup?
I feel pretty good. I should have won week 1, but unfortunately, Burrow put up 0.31 points, so that won't happen again this week. So I'm pretty confident. I'll take care of David and the Cryptic Creatures this week.
Oh, we got someone to add to the stage. Scotty, what's up?
Hey guys, how you doing?
I mean, we're surviving. I think Denver's tearing themselves down. Arizona's looking much nicer right now. I want to ask you, did you ever think in the NFL would you see 70 points scored against an NFL team?
With 8 minutes left.
Yeah, with 8 to go, could have been what they could have done an NFL record if they would have even just a field goal would have given them an NFL record of all time to go along with their only team to do undefeated all season. Yeah, I think I would have at least gone for that field goal at the end. I would have. I would have grabbed that record that will never another record that'll never be broken. So
yeah, how do you fix the Denver Broncos? Because at this point, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't see an easy fix for this team.
No, I don't think there is. I think other than wholesale, let everybody go and rebuild, and it's going to be what 2-3 years. I'm a lifelong Cub fan, and I remember there was a good couple years there where if we got less than 100 losses, that was a good year. But then 3 years after that came our World Series after 108 years. So now I kind of think that's where Denver's going to have to go. They're going to have to do a complete rebuild.
Right. Yeah, no, that Cubs win is still the only sports moment I think I've ever cried at. I remember watching it. They got it. I cried. I was on the phone with my dad. I was like, holy cow, they did it. I never knew I could see that.
Yeah, that was great.
Right. Now, switching tables, let's go to a team that no one gave any life to this year. They said they go defeated. They just knocked off the Dallas Cowboys. How do you feel about the Arizona Cardinals?
The Cardinals are much better without Kyler Murray running the team. what they say is there's no I in team, but as far as Kyler Murray is concerned, there is a me in it when you turn the letters around. And so as long as Murray is not in charge of where the ball goes to, um, the Cardinals are going to do much better. But of course, as soon as he's going to be off of IR, they're going to put him in, and then it's who knows what's going to happen then. Probably the worst.
Now, do you think they put him in, or do you think they try to trade him?
No, this year when he comes in, he'll be they'll put him in. They'll put him in right away because I think they'll figure that all of Phoenix is going to revolt if they don't. But really, then come the off season, if he wants to go somewhere else, I don't think they're gonna hold him back. So that's my feel.
Yeah, let's talk about another team scored a big win. Indianapolis Colts. I know they had the Dan Orlovsky moment where Minshew stepped out of the end zone. But they came in, their kicker set a record most 50-yard field goals a game, and beat the Baltimore Ravens, the home of the old Baltimore Colts. Like, how did that feel, Scott?
Well, that was nice. It was nice to get a win. I do remember the Baltimore. I am old enough to remember the Baltimore Colts, and I remember the time that the old Mayflower moving vans came into Indianapolis. I remember that time, but still, Baltimore is no longer kind of associated with the Colts. It's now an Indianapolis team. So, and it was good to get that win. Never quite sure about Minshew, but he did well. Got everything done. I still think it's going to be Anthony Richardson's team eventually, and once he clears concussion protocol, he'll be in there, and we'll see how it goes.
You're right. Yeah, no, Richardson's been playing well. Matt, I do see you've changed it from 70 points NFL or NBA, which we made a joke of. The Nuggets gave up less points to the Miami Heat. Are you referencing the Rockies going for 100 losses tomorrow?
Yes, I am. So, here's exciting about Colorado just tanking it this week. The Rockies have just given up 5 runs in the second inning to go down 5-0 to the Dodgers right now. And if they lose tonight, they lose that historic mark of 100 for the first time in franchise history. So let's just do it. Right now, we're just having a dark cloud over Colorado. Let's do it. Give us 100 last season, and let's rebuild.
It's almost like the Colorado team said, "Hold my beer" after each loss.
Yeah, let's just hope the Nuggets and Avs turn it around and don't follow the same dark cloud that's going on. I think at least for the Avs, their dark moment was Landeskog having to sit out for another year. So there's their consequence. So who knows?
Well, I did get enjoyment out of the Broncos game, mainly because how much they like to treat us here. What are some other games that happened? I mean, we talked about Philadelphia, smoking Tampa Bay.
The Packers coming from behind Jordan Love's
first
game at Lambeau Field. They're down 17-0 to New Orleans, and they come storming right back to win it 18-17.
Yeah, well, I think on if you're counting your fantasy numbers, and if I heard right earlier today that Jordan Love ranked 5th out of all quarterbacks on fantasy numbers, which is in itself quite a feat. I think not too many really first-year quarterbacks rank that high on a fantasy on the total fantasy numbers. So good deal for Love. Good deal.
Yeah, especially considering how much he was getting the last couple of years. People saying he couldn't even hit the net, and he's it definitely seems, at least listening to Aaron Rodgers' conversation on the Pat McAfee shows, seems like Rodgers and him have at least a better connection than him and Favre had at the time.
Okay.
Right.
That's interesting. I was never sure that Rodgers would have any type of connection with any other quarterback below him, no matter how good or bad that quarterback was going to be. He wasn't going to have that relationship with any.
Well, talking about Rodgers, obviously he's been out. The Jets' offense has looked abysmal. Maybe not as bad as a whole team as the Broncos did, but you got to think this was a team with Super Bowl dreams this year. At what point do they maybe try to go get Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings?
I don't think they'll ever, I don't think anybody's going to get Cousins mid-year. Uh, you know, he's been doing too well. He's been ranking first or second every week in total fantasy quarterback numbers. So yeah, I think the ownership of Minnesota would be even stupider than the ownership of Denver or the Bears if they got rid of Cousins mid-season. Now, whether Cousins, after the season, what they do with Cousins afterwards, well, that's going to be a really good question. But not mid-season, no matter who it is.
Well, let's talk about Chicago. Oh wait, you got something?
I was just going to say I would only say to rebuttal kind of Scott's thing is that it all depends on where the Vikings are at the trade deadline. If they're still winless and he's still putting up the numbers he is, somebody might overpay for him at that point, and you might be able to get a first round draft pick out of it for him, maybe plus something. But I do see what you're saying, that I more than likely see it happening in the offseason. The Vikings and Kirk Cousins experiment, I believe, is over. But if the deal is right, I would make it midseason, bearing the Vikings record.
Yeah, spoken from a Vikings fan. So let's switch over to a Bears standpoint, because obviously not off to a good start. Eberflus looks like a terrible coach. I didn't think he was the right coach anyway when they brought him in. But there's pictures of that offensive line looking at Justin Field as the defenders are also rushing at him. So, I mean, I just don't know where to go with Chicago. I still have a lot of faith in Justin Fields. I just don't know if he'll have a future in Chicago. I hope he does, because I like Justin Fields, but
No, I don't think anybody in Chicago will let Fields have another year. It's going to be they're going to be very early in the draft, and from my understanding, there's going to be a pretty decent quarterback opportunities come draft time coming out of college. So yeah, I think again, if there's going to be if the Bears don't run for a quarterback and they got a top 3 draft option, and they don't go for a quarterback, I think there's going to be another revolt in Chicago.
well, and let's talk about someone we haven't so far on the sports chat. Where are the Bears going to play? Because I know they had the Arlington site, but now it's been like maybe they don't move to Arlington. There's all these proposals at Soldier Field. They have a big old new complex with 1,300-foot towers around it. Do you think it's possible they stay in Chicago?
Yeah, I think they will. They had a chance to go to Arlington Heights before they did the renovations of Soldiers Field the last time, and I remember there's a whole lot of complaints that say, okay, well now you're going to be the Arlington Heights Bears, and we'll have to try to drag somebody else to come play in Chicago. I don't think that they'll. I think there's too many diehard Chicago Bears fans that going to say, hey, you got to play in Chicago. Now, they did the renovation of Soldiers Field, what, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I think it was, less than 10. So, and I haven't really heard too many things from people who go there to have watched them in person say anything bad about that stadium, other than I've heard the upper deck seats are pretty steep to get there. But I think in the long run, I think they'll stay at Soldiers Field.
Right. Well, and we're seeing some talk now of the Jaguars possibly in Chicago. I know they're pushing for a stadium in Jacksonville, but the owners do have a lot of ties to Chicago. So who knows? Maybe Chicago has two teams again in the NFL.
Well, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Right. It'd be a White Sox Cubs thing all over again. No one go watch the Jaguars. They're not real.
Well, what if they pull the? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Wayne's World, but in the movie Wayne's World 2, the Indian guide came and said, if you build it, they'll come. They ended up in Aurora, Illinois. How about building a new stadium in Aurora?
I mean, I don't know how many people are rushing out to Aurora to go there, but
right. And then I just checked, Scott, for you on that one. Actually, that Bears Stadium got renovated 20 years ago now today.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to believe because I agree with you. It seems like not too long ago they renovated that stadium, but it was 20 years ago now.
Yeah, really? Wow. Yeah. You're right. That's early.
Yeah, we'll have to do a tier list at some point of all the NFL stadiums. The Colts have a pretty nice stadium.
No, that's a beautiful stadium that the Colts have. I've been in there, well, only once. I moved out of Indianapolis shortly after they built that building.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a beautiful stadium. I think that they could easily have that for many, many years to come, many decades to come. So that's a beautiful place.
Yeah, I remember we went one day with Steph and Auntie Irene and y'all and just got to walk around. I just thought it was such a cool stadium, having not seen many at that point, but yeah, I think that'd be fun. We'll talk about stadiums one day, just have a tier list.
All right. I'm going to, not that I'm just playing the devil's advocate for Minnesota, but dude, US Bank Stadium, I've been there 3 times now. A phenomenal stadium, man. It may not look pretty on the outside. It was voted one of the ugliest in the NFL, but it's also the #1 stadium in the NFL when it comes down to like the players' votes and everything else like that. They truly did a good job. You get any tickets in the suite level, each section or 2 sections has its own concessions area, bathrooms, so there's never long lines. If you have tickets to a suite, you got some pre-game field passes. You can get down there on the field to watch the players warm up and get back up to your seats. And there's really not a bad seat in the house there, and it can get pretty loud too.
Well, I'll say that from when me and Brennan went to Seattle. Anywhere we were in that stadium, including like the club, perfect view of the field.
Yeah. That looked like a good stadium to see.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We got to go up to where they raised the 12th flag and everything. That was super cool.
Yeah, the stadium in Seattle, at least on television, really does look really nice. That's definitely one of the better stadiums to see. There in Seattle, it's a great one.
Right. Yeah, and it opens up. You can see the sound. It's really cool.
The Eagles Stadium is really cool, especially when you first walk in. And they probably have something similar at a lot of stadiums, but there is a giant. I mean, it's an eagle, but it's like a mosaic eagle in the front lobby of the stadium as you walk in the doors and before you go to your chairs. I didn't love being at the football game live because of where my seat was, but just the stadium and the atmosphere was so amazing that I loved it. So
here, we'll put this at you, Scott. What's the worst stadium you've ever been in? Professional stadium.
Well, I tell you what, probably the worst stadium that I've actually ever been in, the worst seat, and I'll have to explain this. It was actually my father got happened to get tickets in the end zone. I was second row back in the end zone at the Soldiers Field before they did the renovation. So it was still it was like flat. The seats were like way out up until you got to the columns that you can kind of see on the outside. And yeah, honestly, that was it. Even though I was in the end zone, that was a long way to see,
Right.
especially on the other side. You really couldn't really see what happened on the other side. And so that was probably my least favorite uh, pro game to see. Now, I did see it was the Bears and the Colts when they were in the RCA Dome, and my I told my dad that, hey, the Bears are going to be in Indianapolis. Should we get tickets? And he said, yeah, sure, get a bunch of tickets. Well, we were in the second row from the top of the things, and my dad was saying, well, these are the whatever $25 tickets. Where is the $20 tickets? And the guy behind us says, I have the $20 tickets up here at the top. But the thing is, my cousin Stephanie was about 7 months pregnant with twins. And so she was having to climb up to the top of the stadium to get to our seats. And I remember she would go about 10 rows, and somebody would get up out of their seat and said, come here and sit down and rest. And so she'd rest for about 2 minutes and then get up and start walking back up another about 10 minutes, 10 rows, and somebody else would give them her seat to let her rest for a while. So even though the RCA Dome, which was not the greatest of all stadiums to be in, I did see a few games and other events there. So I'd say maybe that would be the second worst stadium I've ever seen a game in. And then State Farm Stadium in Phoenix. The seats aren't too bad. Terrible to look at from the outside, but the seats inside aren't too bad. I've seen one game there. That wasn't bad. But otherwise, that's about the extent of my pro football watching history.
All right, so we're almost to our fun matchup picking. Before we get to that, though, Scott, how do you feel about your team last week? We kind of talked about it a little bit. Close matchup with Matt's team, like down to the wire.
Yeah, we did okay. So kind of going back to looking back here at the breakdown. Yeah, I mean, for what the website was predicting was going to be that Matt was going to beat me by about 20, and to only lose by a little more than 3. That was pretty good. I'd go for that. Problem was, of course, for me is was Gus Edwards being the back in Baltimore for Baltimore. It was either going to be him or Justice Hill, and and I kind of thought it was definitely going to be Edwards, and then he then gets hurt fairly early, and then I don't get much. And I got what 5? I got 5 points out of Edwards for my back, and that's what hurt me the most. So,
yeah, backs have been hit and miss this year, I know, but I saw in the chat there's quite a few being shopped right now. So, for anyone that needs a back, definitely can probably add some depth. I know Shane and David were already making some talk and maybe dark horse, but we'll see. We
Yeah.
will see. How do you feel going in against your rematch with Brian?
Not too bad for whatever reason. Brian's team hasn't done anything. Um,
Is
it'll
it
be
because he's called the Bears?
yeah, it's the Bears.
It's the Bears curse.
Well, let's see. I'm kind of looking at his team now. Well, he's got Howell as his quarterback. That doesn't help him. And well, he's got T. Higgins. I got T. Higgins in a couple other leagues, and then I was watching him real close at the game last night, and T. Higgins or Barrow gave Higgins a few nice passes last night, and he just flat out dropped them. I don't know what he was thinking last night. So, and he's got the Cardinals defense. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
Right, should be fun. All right, guys, let's see if we're better this week at picking. So, Matt, let's start with you. Lions or Packers?
Oh man, that's going to be a good one. Let's go with Packers in this one. They should win it by a touchdown or so.
Okay, Bobby.
Packers.
Brendan.
Did the cat just choose against the cat? Because I'm going to go Lions.
It didn't work out for me last week, so.
All right, cousin Scotty.
Actually, I'm going to go with the Lions. I think the Lions really for the entire bit of the season. I think the Lions are going to be a better team than a lot of people expected all season. So.
Yeah, I'll say Lions as well. So consensus this week, Lions. Moving us to our early 7:30 a.m. football game because it's in London. The Jacksonville Jaguars might as well just be the London Jaguars at this point, going against the Atlanta Falcons, Matt.
It's kind of hard to pick against Jacksonville. They always seem to win when they're out there in London. They have like the biggest fan support. But Atlanta is a really talented team right now. I'm surprised, watching them the last couple of weeks to see how good they really are. I think Atlanta, I don't know if you call it an upset, but I think Atlanta wins against the London Jaguars.
Bobby.
Atlanta.
Brendan.
I'm pretty sure Kyle Pitts has only had like one good game, and it was when they were against or in London last year. So I'm going to choose Kyle Pitts and the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Scott.
Well, you know what? I am going to go with the Jaguars, and I am going to especially go with my Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones back. I think if Jones can actually play, then I think they will pair up and go ahead and put down Atlanta this time. That's my guess for this week.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to say Jacksonville as well for that one, which moves us to Indianapolis hosting the LA Rams, Matt.
Indianapolis or the Rams. The Rams just aren't scoring the points. But do we know is the kid up there, is it Richardson up in Indianapolis? Is he back starting right now, or is he still out?
I think there's I think he's supposed to.
I think I'm going to go with the Colts on this one. They just, like I said, with the Rams not really scoring right now, Stafford doesn't seem to be himself right now. He seems like the 6 year ago version of him with Detroit. Well, I got to go against the cat again on this one. I'm going to take the Colts here, over the Rams.
Bobby?
Rams.
Brendan?
I'm going to take the Colts.
And Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts. Going to take the Colts at home. I agree. I don't know why. I don't know what is going on with Stafford, but yeah, not exactly sure where he's at, but he's definitely not in player mode. That's for sure. Not in that Super Bowl mode that he was a few years ago.
Right. Yeah, let's say Colts as well for me. Let's see. I think they played good defense against Lamar, and I think Lamar can outperform Stafford. So if they can do that then, they can do it now. Speaking of Lamar, tough matchup, Baltimore versus Cleveland. Matt.
Oh, boy. I would have liked to see more out of Baltimore when they played Indianapolis this last week. I think, they were on high belief that, that pass interference should have been called in overtime. It looked very questionable to myself, too. I think Baltimore is going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to have a little bit of some vengeance-type football going on. I think that will help them get the victory this week. I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Bobby?
Baltimore.
Brendan?
The Cleveland Browns actually have a pretty good defense this year. They're not doing too bad. I'm going to choose the Browns.
Scott?
I'm going to go with the Browns also. But the defense has really been pretty strong this year so far. So I'll go Browns.
Well, and I think you guys know where I got to go with this one. I just can't pick against my Louisville Cardinals. So I'm going Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Let's go. Matt, brings us to your game. It's going to be tough because it pits the Minnesota Vikings against a cat team and the Carolina Panthers.
Minnesota's getting this victory. We're finally going to get on the board of wins. Carolina again. They've got a lot of potential in the young kid quarterback they have. He's just not ready quite yet. And I think, I said it last week. I hope again this week, Jefferson and Cousins just dominate. They're going to connect. They're going to get 170 yards. Let's go Vikings. Skull baby.
Bobby?
Minnesota.
Brendan?
I agree. I don't think I agree with the Minnesota Vikings pick. I don't think I think the Carolina Panthers need a little more time to get their stuff together. Bryce Young didn't play last week, and that takes a whole week's of getting to know your star receiver and your star running back. And, pieces will be there probably next year, but I think right now is the Minnesota Vikings will be better.
And Scott?
Yeah, but I'm going with Minnesota. I haven't seen much of anything out of Bryce Young at all, no matter what. So, gotta go with the Vikings on this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to say Vikings as well. Another clean sweep for them this week again. Let's see if they help us out. Brings us to a cat team again. Cincinnati taking on Tennessee, Matt.
I'm kind of these are tough ones here. Not because they're such great games, but both teams just are underplaying right now. You really expected Burrow to go out the other night and just flat out dominate and throw the ball up and down the field. Tennessee with Derrick Henry just struggling this year. So I don't know. This is like that one game I don't want to really pick because it can really go either way. But I think I'm going to go with Cincinnati continuing the winning ways, and they pull off a victory here.
Cincinnati and Joe Burrow.
Brendan?
I agree. I'm going to choose Cincinnati.
And Scott?
Yeah, tough one, but I'm going to, at the end, have to go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going with Cincy as well because I think Joe Mixon alone has had more yards in a game than Tennessee has had. So I'm going Cincy. Brings us to what could be an interesting matchup. I don't know if Derek Carr's playing. If not, it's going to be Jameis Winston facing off against the Bucks as the Bucks play the Saints, Matt.
I'm going to go with Saints on this one. Whether it's Carr or Winston, they're looking pretty good right now. I think they're going to let that loss to Green Bay kind of like play into this one. Sometimes when you lose those tough nail biters by the 1 point, you come out with like something to prove the following week, and I think they do that this week.
Bob?
Yeah, I don't think with the Derek Carr out, I still I'll still go with Jameis Winston if he plays.
Brendan?
I think this is one of those that I could see go either way. On fantasy right now, it has Jameis Winston is projected as the starter. He has projected more points than Carr, but I don't think anyone has seen what the X-ray results have been, so we don't know for sure.
What he did.
I think the Bucks are actually going to win. I think they have. They were able to keep up with the Eagles and keep the Eagles in check for most of the night. So I think they'll be able to keep up with a lesser offense. So,
Scott?
I have a hard time going with any team that Jameis Winston is actually quarterbacking. So I'm going to go with the Bucks no matter what on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa Bay as well. I think Baker Mayfield's played really good this year. Obviously, didn't look so great last night, but again, against a really good Philadelphia defense. Brings us to what should be the Monday night matchup. It's the Dolphins going against the Buffalo Bills, a tough one for me, I know. Tyreek Hill going against our boy from Wyoming, Josh Allen, Matt.
Yeah. Especially after the show the Dolphins put on. Buffalo still really hasn't shown much this year.
Just remember, whatever you say, we're going up to Wyoming this Saturday, so don't be negative.
That's what I was going to say, though. But how can you pick against Josh Allen? It's homecoming week up in Wyoming. They're going to be a rowdy group of people up there. Always a good time. I think just because of that, that's going to help me go with the Buffalo Bills this week. Josh Allen, let's get it done, baby.
Bobby.
Buffalo.
Ooh, Brendan.
Miami.
Scott.
Well, I kind of hate to say it, especially since I played the Miami defense, but I'm going to have to go with Buffalo for this game.
Oh, I'm sorry, Josh Allen, but I got to pick Tyreek. He is the best wide receiver playing today. I know I call him.
Pair it up and Buffalo could win.
Okay, he could. He is the GOAT today. He's not the GOAT old time. That's obviously Jerry Rice. At wide receiver, I think the best football player of all time is Walter Payton, though. But I do think Miami wins this one. So.
And these Wyoming fans are going to screenshot your picture, dude. You got to make sure you're ready for it.
I'm shaving before we go up there.
Place where they play the beer song, dude. Come on, man.
I do love when they play the beer song. All right, so that speaking of Walter Payton, that brings us to his team, Chicago, hosting the Denver Broncos, two teams that gave up a lot of points, Matt. Remember, you picked a guy in prison played by Adam Sandler over Russell Wilson.
I think Broncos are going to win this one. I think Russell's going to struggle mightily in the first half. They put in Stidham. He's going to come and roar back with the Broncos, and they take down the Chicago Bears.
Boo. Bobby. Oh, man. It made me want to bring up my my Fields jersey, but I do not know where it is. Brendan.
My girlfriend sells her jewelry in the mall, and I walk by the sports store all the time, and there was a new edition this week. For $69.99, you can buy yourself a Justin Fields jersey.
What color? I have the white one. I have
It's
the white
blue one, the home one.
I don't have that. I only have the white, like, retro one. Speaking of here, before we go, do they still have the Jets, Aaron Rodgers on sale?
Yes.
I might have to wire you somebody. Be like, buy me that. That'd be awesome.
This is another one that I don't really want to pick. I'm gonna guess Broncos. The offensive line for the Bears they're staring at Justin Fields.
They are.
So I don't know how I can. I mean, I know the Broncos are hungry to show that they're not as bad as what their score said last week. There's a lot of disappointment and other things going on in that locker room right now. Yep. So, I mean, Garrett Bowles, who when in years 1 and 2, had so many holding penalties and so cleaned up his act in the last few years, and he comes out and says, for the last 7 years, all he's done is lost and he's tired of it. It's hard to see because he's not wrong.
Scott?
This is going to be a game that if you don't end up, if you have a problem with insomnia, this is the game you'd really want to see because you're going to get a whole lot of time to sleep during this game. And my prediction for this week's going to be, I'm going to say the Bears will win by field goal, 3-0 in double overtime. That's how terrible this game is going to be, start to finish. 3-0 in double overtime. Go Bears.
All right. And I got to say, first off, my pick is not going to be based off of my love of Chicago. I mean, I don't have a Sears Tower in the background right there. No way. Totally, though. Chicago, I think, is going to win this game. I think Denver, after that loss, it's going to be hard to come back from. At some point, they'll come back from it. But I don't think a week out from giving up the most points since before we landed on the moon, I don't think you can just come back that quickly. So I think Chicago wins it. I think Fields, if they can just watch what Miami did a little bit, there was a lot of short open passes. I think, and let Fields run. That's what he's good at. Let him run a little bit. So I'll pick Chicago. Let's see. Our next matchup. Ooh, Commanders, Eagles. Matt.
Eagles all the way in this one. Washington got blown out this last week. I think Philadelphia does the same to Washington.
Bobby.
Philadelphia.
Our unbiased Eagles fan, Brendan.
This one's Philly. I'm not even gonna bullshit it.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm with Brandon. Don't even have to think about it too much. It's going to be Philly.
Yeah, same. I think it's going to be an easy win. Philadelphia. I might have to start both their wide receivers this week in fantasy.
You should just give me one.
Maybe. Offer me something. Next matchup, Pittsburgh, Houston. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a few weeks ago, Matt.
I think the Texans take care of business here. I rarely pick against Pittsburgh because they are just, they got Tomlin who's been there forever. They have a way of winning, but they're just too low scoring. I think Houston's going to win the game.
Bobby.
Houston.
Brendan.
I who's the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator? Have they got rid of him? No. Then obviously not Steelers.
They gave him more. Yeah, they gave him more power this week.
That offense is the Steelers' defense is what's keeping them afloat and keeping Tomlin's winning seasons alive. I can't. I've seen improvement over the time for the Texans. That week 1 was not a true picture to their character. And I think the Houston Texans will win. I think they've improved better. So,
Scott?
Well, yeah, I've kind of been enjoying watching Stroud get better, especially over the last couple of weeks. I think I'm going to go with Houston, although if this game was, say, 3 weeks ago when Stroud really wasn't going anywhere, then I really would pick Pittsburgh. But now after a couple weeks, I'm going to go with Houston.
Yeah, and I got to go Houston as well. That offense in Pittsburgh, I don't know what's happened to Kenny Pickett this year, but I'm very disappointed. Brings us to the Raiders and the Chargers, Matt. We don't know if Garoppolo is playing. He's in concussion protocol.
This one I think is a clear one. Chargers are going to win this one. Herbert, at least for my one fantasy league, did really well just because putting up the big passing yards, not necessarily like accumulating them, but putting up the distance, Herbert's going to continue that. I think the Chargers take down the Raiders. The Raiders are a Josh McDaniels controlled team, so much like the Broncos, he may think he's all that, but he's going to be shot down again.
Bobby?
San Diego.
Well, San Diego, they moved. It's LA. Matt or Brendan. See, now I'm confused. I was going back in time.
I'm going to say the Chargers. Even without their number 2 receiver, I still think they're a better team overall. They've been able to. They pulled out a win against the Vikings, who have a great offense, and they kept up with the Dolphins, who just put up 70 against, Denver's Pee Wee team. Professional team. So I'm going to say the Chargers.
Brendan, it's okay. Me and Matt are going to get being up in the streets. You don't have to add to.
Denver used to have a lingerie football team. I think the quarterback of that lingerie team would lead our Denver to the promised land too.
I think the quarterback from the Crush, back when the Crush could come back and make an unretirement, come back and win.
Oh, they did make an unretirement, and now where was that, Broomfield? They're tearing down their stadium. It's no more. Where we saw AEW's first show, Brendan, has been torn down. Scott?
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of with Bob there. It's kind of like, well, are they is it San Diego versus Oakland? Do these people know where they're going to be playing? Does anybody know where they're going to be playing? Actually, I think. I'm a big fan of Adams. He's a great receiver, but the thing with receivers is they're only as good as the guy who can get them the ball. And if it's not Garofalo, then not really sure who's going to get Adams the ball. So in that sense, I think I will have to go toward the Chargers. At least they got a quarterback. So we'll see. We'll go with that way.
Yeah, and I'm picking Chargers as well. Brings us, we're finally in the 2:00 games. Apparently everyone's playing at 11 this time. We got only 2 more games in the 2:00s, and then we're to Sunday and Monday. Arizona going against San Francisco, Matt.
It's going to be a better one than it was looking week 1. Bearing Chargers were able to pull off the win, but I think right now the 49ers just have their stuff rolling. McCaffrey's looking good. Purdy needs a little bit of tweaking here, some adjustments. I think they get that taken care of for at their practices during the week. 49ers take care of business.
Bob.
San Francisco.
Brendan.
You guys not just watch the same game I did? I mean, the Cardinals just took down the Cowboys. Why can't they take down a division foe? I mean, it's a division game.
It's the
I'm
Cowboys.
kidding. I'm going 49ers.
Well,
Are you saying Arizona?
No,
Yeah.
they're 49ers.
no, and McCaffrey, Pollard doesn't compare to McCaffrey. So whoever has McCaffrey is going to be winning it. So yeah, I'm going with 49ers.
I feel like you have McCaffrey.
I do have McCaffrey, and I'm holding on to them. Your father has asked me for a trade every year for the last 3 years, and I've told him no, and it's going to continue to be that way.
Let's see. I really want to pick San Francisco. I do think they're going to win. But how can I stop picking the Cardinals now? I picked them. Let's pick them again. Go Arizona. Hey, they proved me right one of these few games. I really thought they had the Giants that one. This is interesting. Cowboys coming off the upset versus New England, Matt.
So, I'm gonna have to go with. I just don't know. I'm gonna go with Dallas on this one. New England isn't impressive at all this year so far.
Bobby.
Cowboys.
Brendan.
You know, maybe I'm the Cowboys' bad luck. I picked them last week and they lost. So I also heard a rumor that Zeke Elliott is giving the Patriots all the signals. So I'll say Cowboys again. I don't like Mac Jones. He's proven me wrong. So
Ooh, I know Mac Jones had a dirty play we saw last week. Can't be touching people like that, Mac Jones. Scott.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have to go with the Patriots. No, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys on this one. I'm not really sure really how the Patriots are gonna play week to week. Of course, I can't say that way for about the Cowboys either, but I'm gonna lean toward Dallas to this one.
I'm going to say the Patriots just because of, obviously Bill Belichick's really good at coaching defense. Look at what he did with Miami, far superior to Dallas's offense. I think New England gets the win. Brings us Sunday night. Kansas City traveling to a stadium me and Brendan got kicked out of because we were wearing Bullet Club attire. The Jets, Matt.
You even have to ask on that one. That's going to be probably red across the board here. Kansas City takes care of the Jets, man.
Bobby.
Kansas City.
And I guess, Brendan, we have also been to the Kansas City Stadium. We might have broken in that day, but Brendan, Kansas City, the Jets.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, that's a whole different ball game, and they have more of a chance. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes isn't doing amazing this year, but I mean, his receivers aren't catching the ball either when they're thrown. So I'm going to choose Kansas City.
Scott?
My question right now is based on the bar that Miami just set. Will Kansas City actually go for 73 points or 75 or 80? If it is, it's going to be this week. I got Kansas City easily over the Jets.
All right, we got Scotty putting up a banger of a score, 75 or 80.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm saying Kansas City as well. Even though I know they've been kind of shaky at wide receiver, they should definitely put Watson in more. I think they'll easily beat the Jets, who are just struggling on offense. And that brings us Monday night. We got Seattle Seahawks traveling to the same stadium we just talked about. The New York Giants this time playing, Matt.
Seattle Seahawks take care of business. It looks like MetLife Stadium is going 0-2 this week.
Bob.
The G-Men. The G-Men.
Brendan.
I'm taking Seattle.
And Scott.
I'm going to go for the jet lag theory, and I'm going to go with Giants on this one.
Okay. Which brings me. I don't know who I'm going to pick.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
All right. Seattle Seahawks. Let's go. Let's win this one. And they got to revenge me and Brendan and Preston for getting kicked out by security because we didn't wear WrestleMania gear. We were wearing the Bullet Club. All right. So that's our picks. Week 4. Will we be right? Will we be wrong? Let us know. Comments below. Before we leave, though, Scott, any fun sports movies the viewers should go check out?
Oh gosh, the only sports movie that's really worth seeing is Hoosiers. Got to go see Hoosiers. If you haven't, got to go see it. If you have seen it, see it again. That's the only sports movie you ever have to ask about.
I'm going to go with my hockey movies. You know, I'm a hockey guy. Check out Slapshot. Always a classic movie. If not Slapshot, if you want more of like kind of that inspirational movie, go see Miracle. 2 really good hockey movies there. One more for the funny side if you want to laugh your ass off, or if you want kind of that motivation, rah, feel the patriotism, let's go USA type style.
Brendan, in Kansas, what's the best sports bar to go watch a football game at?
I don't know. We don't really have a sports bar here. I mean, old Chicago, I guess, but
Oh, I misunderstood the question. I thought you said sports movie. Oops.
I did ask sports movie.
Oh, okay.
I was asking different questions to different people.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
It's okay to fill in. I mean, Brendan, do you have a favorite sports movie that these viewers should go check out?
I don't know. I really like Friday Night Lights and Radio.
Ooh,
Radio
like
is one of my ones that I like watching at the beginning of football season.
Is Radio going to make your top 20 movies of all time list?
Probably.
All right, look at that. Brendan's getting his list done. I know Matt got his done. Bobby, what's the best place to go watch the Broncos game here in Colorado?
Oh God, Berghaus, because I know the people over here that are, close to Castle Pine. So,
all right, so Berghaus in Castle Pines. They do have some good burgers. And much like last week, I'll give you a book recommendation. Same thing. I'm reading currently Glory of Their Times. It's about early day baseball, late 1800s, early 1900s. Currently, I'm reading about the players who played against the infamous Black Sox. But yeah, that wraps up our show. Quick reminder, if you guys are in Wyoming this week, we are hanging out at War Memorial Stadium to watch the University of Wyoming Cowboys face off against the New Mexico Lobos, a battle of the 2 teams we've gone to the States this year. So yeah, join us, and thank you again for joining us, and check out more Sports Chat on the left, more here at Culz on the right, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Go Cardinals.